This time, I really would love it if people would put into the comments what you're grateful for. There's a whole lot in our world that's a mess. Let's just be honest. And I'm just going to say, I don't always agree with my brothers. I don't know if anybody totally agrees with everybody in their
That's why we all live in different states.
Welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy, a real estate podcast with the goal to educate, inform, and save their listeners time as they navigate the market and properties in their neighborhoods. Get ready to join real-life siblings and professional real estate advisors, Donna and Eric Seemann, as they discuss how it may be simple, but it ain't always easy.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Real Siblings, It Ain't Easy. I'm Eric Seemann, realtor with Keller Williams Heritage in San Antonio, Texas, and I am here with my more seasoned sister.
Seasoned, because it's a food holiday. With Keller Williams Southern Arizona in Tucson, Arizona.
In this podcast, we reminisce on how our life and upbringing in the small village of Lindsey, Ohio impacted our lives and careers in real estate in the Southwest states we now call home. We work to connect what made the two houses we both lived in, along with our parents and brothers, and the two additional houses where Donna raised her family decades later, so influential in our careers. We certainly know that our conversations take a lot of turns, and honestly, we've done less planning on this one. So who knows where this is going to go? In the end, we hope we are successful in providing you a little bit of insight into our markets and demonstrate our expert knowledge, along with some history, statistics, or simply information in the local real estate market that you may not be aware of. Donna, I think we agreed that now I throw to you and you discuss what we did last time.
I think that's what we agreed. So last time we talked a whole lot about our Thanksgivings in Lindsey, Ohio. And the truth is our memories were more vague than they were about Halloween. There was not a ton that we remembered, but they came together. We had to ask our other brothers and, kind of put it all together. And now we decided that this time around, we're going to talk a little bit about where we are, how Thanksgiving maybe has changed, and also just discuss things that we are grateful for. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what we agreed to 10 minutes ago, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's been hours. Yeah.
That's why I went out and had to fix my hair, because I'm grateful for my hairline.
Yeah, it is kind of, you look like that sun in that picture behind you is kind of shining down on you.
It is.
That's what happens with bald heads. But it's better than that fake bow you had on earlier. So,
or the pirate patch. Yeah, apparently I was dressing up for Halloween a little bit late.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I want to say thank you to those folks who are listening. I don't know what it is. We do have a growing community. We have a growing listener base. We are approaching over 1,000 listens to all of our podcasts and getting some level of engagement and acknowledgement. And that's kind of cool. I mean, we started this. We didn't know where it was going to go. And here we are, still not knowing where it's going to go. We still
don't know. Yeah. However, exciting that soon the website will be ready, right?
Right.
So as we've talked about the website, we've said, we're going to have a website. We're going to share pictures. We're going to do it. And honestly, folks, we've been working on it, as has someone else we paid, because I don't build websites. Right?
Yeah, we finally got to the limit of going, okay, we can't do just one more thing ourselves. So we engaged some professional help.
Yeah. So Eric, let's talk about your holidays in the San Antonio area, right? How many years have you been there? Like 27, 20, how many years have you been there?
I'm on my 30th year. I got here in May of 1992. So this will be my 31st Thanksgiving holiday here in San Antonio.
That's kind of around the same time Dan got to Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah,
and maybe
we both left. At the time, I was discharged and told my services were no longer required by the United States Army.
Right.
Dan was in a position where they were reducing his pay grade and rank as well, and they offered him the opportunity to leave voluntarily and take some sort of a severance package, which he did.
Okay, that's right. That's why, maybe that's part of the reason, because I'm thinking.
So yeah, he and the family ended up in Kansas at the same time. I ended up very, very close in time to here in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah. So during that time, you have a new family that, was different from when you first got there. Tell our listeners about Thanksgivings in Helotes.
In Helotes and Pipe Creek in the Hill Country. And honestly, this is one of those things that we had talked about tamales, but we're going to talk more about tamales at Christmas and New Year's because that's more of a thing, just like black-eyed peas are. With new family, I have family here in town. So we have not had to travel frequently. We have chosen to because our daughter Steph is out in Phoenix, Arizona. And Rich still serving in the Air Force, has been around the country. So we've seen him in Colorado, and we saw Caleb, who viewers don't know, but Caleb was just on with us chatting since he's down visiting, something you're thankful for, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, we have bounced around. Sometimes we've filled the house. I've had folks in from out of town with the military training that goes on here in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base, which is Air Force Basic Training. They do an event every year to support and get airmen away from base and basic training. So they open it up to the community. You can volunteer, you pick them up, and you bring kids in that you may not know and bring them into your house and feed them a nice homemade Thanksgiving as opposed to staying on base and doing KP or barracks duty or whatever else they may have to do.
Yeah.
There's a huge, one of the biggest Thanksgiving events. Now, of course, COVID, the pandemic affected it the last couple of years, but there is a Thanksgiving dinner for homeless folks that have food insecurities. It's the Raul Jimenez annual Thanksgiving meal. And I mean, it is hundreds of volunteers feeding thousands of people inside. They've done it at the Alamo Dome. They've done it at the AT&T Center. I'm not sure where it's at this year, but I mean, thousands of people with a hot, traditional turkey dressing, potatoes, all of the standards.
Yeah. Yeah. So folks, those of you that don't know San Antonio at all, when Eric says we talk about San Antonio, so he's licensed in San Antonio. All of my brothers have chosen to live at one point or another kind of in the boonies compared to me. Helotes is not in San Antonio. Now, the good news is when I drive from Arizona, it's a little bit closer. But Eric's at the top of a hill with 13 acres.
I get reminded every single day of how blessed we are. It's been a really, really gray week. And Jeannie was out taking a walk the other day, and she just snapped a picture and sent it to me going, how can you not appreciate this view? And it's trees and hills and gray skies. And it just was one of those that I can search on my phone right now. And I bet if I did sunrise or sunset and just did that on my nearly 30,000 photos I have on my phone, there's going to be 1,000 of them because I have taken that many pictures of sunrise, sunset, and things that go on. And there have for years, we've been out here for 21 years. And when we made the decision to move, there were people who were just like, oh my gosh, that drive.
Right. There still are. Your sister is still that girl.
I mean, technically live in Pipe Creek. To get to Helotes, that's 16 miles one way. It's longer than what we used to drive from Lindsey to Fremont.
Okay, so that being said, how long does it take you to get to the Heritage office if you go to the office?
The Heritage office is now 32 miles from me. So depending on traffic, I figure a bare minimum it's going to take 45 minutes. If there's traffic and all of Loop 1604, which for those of you not familiar with San Antonio has built and grown and is a series of concentric circles
like Phoenix
from downtown. And if you put the Alamo right square center of downtown, there are a series of interstates that surround downtown that is about 10 miles. The next loop, Loop 410, goes about 53 miles. The next Loop 1604, point to point, is over 110 miles if you drive it all the way around. And we're outside of that.
Crazy. I love it when I'm there. I don't like getting there. So, Eric, gosh, I got an itchy nose today and a scratchy throat. So everybody listen, but don't watch today. I guess. I don't know. We've talked a lot about memories and things like that, but we don't often talk about the details of our real estate. And, I just want to brag a little bit on my little brother, you guys, because I've been in the business longer than he has. However, his education, he just keeps taking more and more. And so he sits in on things about the historic homes in San Antonio. And he's a brilliant decorator. He decorates way better than I do and takes all those antiques. And really, no, I think that, Air. And because of where you live now, you're doing farm and ranch stuff. You know, I don't know a thing about a farm or a ranch. and we grew up around, you know, farms. And you're teaching classes, Eric. Dang it, all I do is throw parties at the office.
All you do is throw parties. You do a lot of socializing, but that is one of your gifts, Sis, your ability to consistently engage, not only with your global friends, and your travels. And we've had a chance to talk about some of your travels and the most recent trip. I mean, you were getting together with cousins that I haven't seen since Amy's wedding and have never met.
He's got three grandkids.
It has been so long and so separated. My life circumstances different than yours. You've been able to get out and do a whole lot more of that, but it's your level of engagement even on social media. I'm connected with a lot of people with white beards and mustaches, look a lot like me.
I don't focus on a specific look.
So since we brought this up and since we talked Thanksgiving last episode, and we talked Thanksgiving in Lindsey and bringing in guests, we talked about Drew Macon and his cousin Rodney coming in from Rochester.
Right.
Separate Thanksgiving was my roommate Vasos.
Yeah.
And his brother Dimitri coming in. They were both Greek Cypriots coming down and spending time with us. And I spoke to Vas last week for the first time in 33 years.
Is he living in Cyprus? Where is he?
He is not in Cyprus. He is in Miami, Florida.
Of course. So
when I go see Rich and Susan and Annabelle, we will definitely be getting together.
Oh, that's
over
cool.
In Florida. Yeah, it was. And I have to thank his nephew, Kyriakos. Kyriakos is Dimitri's son, and we are connected on Facebook. And I sent Kyriakos a birthday greeting like I do so frequently. He responded. We come back and forth, and it's like, you have got to have your dad and your uncle call me. And last week, I had a call from a Florida number, and it's like, Marathon, Florida, I don't know anybody there. And I let it go. And then I get this text message. It's like, Eric, it's Vasos. So that was very, very cool. An international family. His wife is Chinese. He met her at University of New Orleans. And then he moved down to Honduras, and I told him I had been hunting for him on social media, and the only thing I ever found, and he goes, you found the golf video.
Well, that's got to be another story. Okay. So
what about things, because I've got family and much more, and contrast that to what you have in Tucson.
So when we moved here, it's been 22 years when we came from Lindsey to Tucson, and this is where Gil was from. And those Thanksgivings were predominantly with someone in the family because his siblings were all around here in one way, shape, or form. And so we would get together with his mom and dad, and again, life circumstances. So Gil is deceased and my kids are scattered a little bit. So I live alone in Tucson, and I don't have family in town. Now, as we mentioned, Caleb's here visiting, but every year, I literally today just messaged my clients from Quebec on Facebook and said, have you ever had Thanksgiving in the States? Why don't you come? Because they're at their condo. And they bought like 13 years ago. And I said, we're not having turkey because I'm not spending $30. So that's what my Thursday is going to be, because Caleb will go be with his fiance and her family. And then it'll be with friends who have become family. And we're going to do that Friday.
You're going to get together with Beth and girls.
Chelsea and the girls. Yep. And their family. And so, the friends become the family, and tradition changes, and the food changes because those girls, one is vegetarian, one is vegan. And
so you're having tofurkey.
I don't know what
I was just going to say we're having tofurkey because, Doreen Volbrick had to start getting that.
So, so it changes. And I, what the worst case would be, I go to the church because the church is doing stuff, and there's always something, right? It's just not the same every year. And the truth is, if we look back on our childhood, it's never the same, right? Because from year to year, you don't know who's going to make it. You and I have last year, because Rich was here, we were together up in Phoenix, and I have been up there with my niece, your daughter, a couple of times. So always something, and always grateful, just not the same as our childhood.
And always, no matter what it is, plenty to eat. We have been extremely blessed. And if I stood up, you could see I fill the red suit. Aside from the beard, I fill the red suit out. Although I keep being told I'm getting too skinny. And I joke with our operating principle, which is a terminology used. I don't know whether every brokerage uses that or not, but it's the terminology within Keller Williams operating principle. 1,800 agents, and I'm the only one who he ever tells is getting too skinny. And Craig works out like crazy and is in great shape. We're not that far apart in age, maybe only 4 or 5 years, but I'm the only person he ever sees going, hey, Santa, you're getting a little skinny there.
So Eric, I want to, you and I talked a little bit. I want to go through a list of things that I'm grateful for. And, we ask people to listen to these. We ask people to like them. We ask them to comment. This time, I really would love it if people would put into the comments what you're grateful for. There's a whole lot in our world that's a mess. Let's just be honest. And I'm just going to say, I don't always agree with my brothers. I don't know if anybody totally agrees with everybody in their
That's family. Why we all live in different states.
That's right. We had to separate ourselves. So yeah. But I do, I told Eric I wanted to start with things that are maybe a little trite and kind of share some of the things I'm grateful for. So I have an orange tree, you guys. It's a blood orange tree. And the most oranges I've ever had was 13. And I counted 50 the other day. I'm so excited. I don't even know if I can eat 50 blood oranges, but if you buy them at the market, they're like $1 a piece. So super excited about the blood orange tree, which I should have those fruit.
Is that in the backyard? Is that in the courtyard out back? Or
it is. Yeah, it's in the backyard. Yeah, it's about 5 years old now. And I'm super excited that after living in my home for 7-8 years, I have a kitchen on order and I just got a new roof. So my 1978 house will finally be brought into this.
And that's going to have to be a discussion for another time, because I do find it interesting, not just the renovations, but the mere fact of clients have expectations of what a kitchen is supposed to look like. And the terminology of when does something go from being Ruby's looking for a treat. She just went outside to go to the bathroom. So she gets rewarded for doing her duty. When does something go from being old and dated to vintage to nostalgic? Where is that arc?
Oh, that's interesting. Partially because mine was not well built. And I think there are some from the 70s that were super well built. So I think that'll play into that. Anyway, I'm going to have that done. And as a realtor, we all know that the kitchen brings us value. So it's about time after 8 years.
That's right. And I'm going to have my septic fixed. And that's really important.
I also want to say, and I want to make sure we fit this in. So when our father passed away, we were not wealthy people and we didn't inherit a bunch of money, and he had remarried. But one of the things that Dad did is he left us the residual income from insurance. And we may have talked about this in another episode.
Just only touched it, I think.
Yeah. So it started out where at the end of a year, we would get a small check. It was never enough to save our lives. It was never enough to buy a house. It was never that. It was maybe a couple thousand each when it started. I don't remember. Dad died in 2003. So as the money lessened and we made a decision, and our older brother has managed the money for most of the 20-some years.
For all of the 20 years.
For all of the time.
Most of it. I mean, he was the one, because he was a financial advisor and an licensed insurance. It's like, look, he's going to do this.
Yeah. He saves that money. We get together the first weekend after Memorial Day every year, as many of us who can. It has allowed we siblings who don't live close together to see each other. We all get along for most of the 2.5 days, but not always, And it's also allowed some of the next generation of kids to know each other who wouldn't be close to each other. It's not like when you grew up and all your cousins were down the block. So super grateful for that and for that small legacy. It's ending soon.
Yeah, we're finally reached the end. But like you said, Dad's been gone for 20 years. Yep. And I never understood as an independent insurance salesman when he talked about renewals, what that meant.
Right.
But that there are clients who just don't think, they're on autopilot. They get a notification. It used to be by mail. Now, of course, email or some electronic. And it's like, hey, your policy's up for renewal. And you click yes. And you pay it and you just roll on. And he had income coming in from that, which is what we have pooled and stockpiled and managed for 20 years now to cover food and meals and things like that when we get together. We've gotten to the point where we were covering some of accommodations originally. Yeah. And now we use it primarily for food.
Food and an event, one activity or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and
then lastly, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Nope.
The last thing I just want to say is, I mentioned Caleb is home. And for those of you that are Facebook friends, you know that Caleb and his girlfriend Jessica recently got engaged. So for the first time, I get to be the mother of a groom. I have 3 brothers and 3 sons. I'm like super excited to just get to be the mother of someone getting married. Yay. Because I told them it's all about me. No.
Is that going to be another 8 years?
Pardon? No, better be before that. Yeah. And simultaneously, many of you know that a couple years ago, we didn't know if Caleb would be alive. COVID found a tumor in his body. And at this time, 2 years ago in November, I was up in Colorado and we didn't know if Caleb would be here with us. So besides the excitement of the engagement, grateful that I had my son, that I have my other sons, and that I have patience for the older one. And yeah, so I need to not
That's
cry.
one of those ones you got to be careful. Don't pray for patience.
Yeah.
And again, we do forget how very, very blessed we are, despite everything else that goes on in this crazy country and the anger. And we talked as we were preparing for this, we as humans are just naturally inclined to focus on the negative and jump on the negative. Years ago when I was in the corporate world, it's like, hey, we're piling on. And everybody would get on to, and I think with what I would refer to as much as anti-social media, because it's used that way too frequently. I was talking just even the other day, following sports and football games and watching my football team, alma mater, fall apart the other day. And it used to be when you were an armchair quarterback, you'd be mad, you'd be angry, you'd yell at your house, you'd do those sort of things. Now they take it out on people. And they attack the coaches and they attack the players and and it's like, look, these are college athlete students. And you don't think they're beating themselves up enough right now. Anyhow, all they need to do is hear more about. And so just because using that little segue, we know that there's a big game coming up. Now, this will actually come out after, but there are 2 teams that are undefeated in the Big Ten, and it is the Big Two, as it has been referred to for years. Ohio State and Michigan play this coming weekend. Expect over 100, and both stadiums are now at around 106. I think the capacity, they're getting close to 110,000 fans.
And there will be families divided.
At each one of the games, and families divided, and but crazy time of year for that. But we are blessed. We are overall healthy, even though we take a handful of medications and supplements and things like that.
Injuries.
Right. Replacement this and fix that. We're blessed.
Yeah, we are.
So, and I just want to share, because it's my time of year. I'll just say that. And I had pulled up some lyrics. This is from, and I shared this with Donna before we got started, 1942 film Holiday Inn, which you may or may not be able to find anymore because there are certain scenes in that film, the original, with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, that are now determined to be inappropriate. Oh, wow. But there's a song that Irving Berlin wrote that was the Thanksgiving song from the film. And here's the chorus. It goes, "I've got eyes to see with, ears to hear with, arms to hug with, and lips to kiss with. Someone to adore. How could anybody ask for more? My needs are small. I buy them all at the 5 and 10 cent store. Oh, I've got plenty to be thankful for."
That's great, Eric. When he said he was going to do Christmas, I was like, what? He said that you said that scene is actually at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's the Thanksgiving scene, and it's sweet, and of course Bing sings it so well.
Yeah. I hope that our listeners do spend this time thinking about the small things in their life and the big things that they are grateful for. The surgeries that were a success, the doctors that work long hours, the car that runs most of the time, whatever it is. And it'd be really great if, as we moved into 2023, we could think about it all the time, even instead of just, it's the time of year to think about being grateful.
Like so many Christmas songs sing about.
Yeah.
It's that time of year, and it's like, it's short. It seems like it gets shorter all the time. And then we talk about how it expands. And
so
thanks for joining us, Donna. Why don't you close us down? Close this episode. Right.
I will do that. Thank you for listening and joining us as we stroll down memory lane, which we do. We reflect, we reminisce, and we think about the life in the small town and village of Lindsey, Ohio, where we grew up, and how it affected our lives and careers in real estate. As we end this episode, keep in mind that the goal is to communicate, educate, and connect with all of you. If you're in Arizona or specifically Tucson, or if you're in Texas near San Antonio, or now we know Helotes, we are both realtors with Keller Williams, and we are here to help you find the perfect home for your family so that you also might call where we live your home. It will help you create lasting memories. We all have memories. If you are across the United States or somewhere else around the world, we're both part of an extensive network, and we have professional real estate advisors that we can be happy to connect you with and find the realtor that works for you. So remember, it may not be simple. I messed it up. Eric, you're going to have to edit this. It may not be simple. It may not be easy. Okay, one more time. It may be simple, but it ain't always easy. Until next time, I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And we are real siblings.
Real siblings.
We got to get this together, Eric.
Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving. I love you, Eric.
Every time I think about the places I have known, I realize that times have changed. So I'll do what I can to make this house into a home. Yeah, yeah. Oh.
Thank you for investing your valuable time to listen to Real Sibling. It ain't easy. Eric and Donna hope you found this episode informative and enjoyable. There are several ways that you can support this podcast. Please take time to like, follow, and subscribe. Additionally, leave them a 5-star rating along with a review on your preferred podcast platform. The final thing I would ask is that you recommend this podcast to a friend, a family member, or an associate. Your engagement is critical to their ongoing success, and they look forward to connecting. Check out the show's notes below with all their contact information, including emails, phone numbers, and websites. And remember, the Real Siblings look forward to hearing from you.